Imagine a massive still sea so dense with salt that you can float without effort. A place so desolate that it's actually known as the Dead Sea, but it turns out that something astonishing is happening there, something no one ever expected. The Dead Sea sits at the lowest point on the planet's surface, surrounded by desert landscapes and towering dry cliffs. Its waters are about 10 times saltier than regular ocean water, creating a harsh environment. For centuries, this has been one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. Not a single fish, plant, or creature could survive in its waters. But now, life is creeping back in. Fish are appearing in little pockets of water near the shore, and green plants are starting to grow around them. It might sound like a fascinating natural event, but for millions of Christians around the world, this strange revival is much more than that. The Bible contains ancient prophecies that appear to predict events similar to these. In the book of Ezekiel, for instance, there is a vision that foretells life returning to the Dead Sea. According to this prophecy, fresh water will one day flow into the sea, bringing fish and plants back to an area that's been lifeless for thousands of years. Ezekiel even describes seeing fishermen casting their nets along its shores. Now, people who are witnessing these changes can't help but feel that this prophecy might be coming true. People are beginning to wonder if we're seeing the first signs of something much bigger, a series of events that could shape the future in ways we can't fully understand. In the Bible, specifically in the books of Ezekiel and Zechariah, there are prophecies that describe strange events happening around the Dead Sea. These prophecies, written over 600 years ago, depict seemingly impossible transformations. But now, one of the most extreme places on Earth, so salty and barren that it's known as dead, is beginning to show the signs that these prophecies foresaw. In 597 BC, he witnessed the struggles of his people, who had been taken from their homeland and forced into exile in Babylon. In the face of despair, he wrote visions of hope, of a miraculous renewal for the land and his people. In Ezekiel 47, the prophet describes a vision that must have seemed unimaginable at the time. He speaks of a river flowing from Jerusalem, heading east toward the Dead Sea, a body of water with salt levels so high that nothing could live in it. Yet he describes something extraordinary, that as this river of fresh water poured into the Dead Sea, the salty water would become fresh. This miraculous transformation would allow fish to live there, and it would become a place where fishermen could cast their nets. In Ezekiel 47:10, he even names the places where this fishing would happen. From En-Gedi to Aglaim, he writes, the vision of fishermen, once impossible along these lifeless shores, hints at a massive, almost magical change. To people reading this prophecy today, his words feel strangely real. In recent years, visitors and scientists have spotted fish swimming in small pools around the Dead Sea, something no one ever expected. They found lush green plants sprouting in these same salty, barren places. The prophet Zechariah also spoke of the Dead Sea in ways that might make your spine tingle. Zechariah 14:8 about a time in the future when living water shall flow from Jerusalem. Zechariah's vision ties directly to the Dead Sea, foretelling that life-giving water would one day reach this area and change it completely. This prophecy doesn't just stop with a transformed Dead Sea, it speaks of a world-altering event that would signal divine intervention and a new era. This prophecy isn't just about nature changing, it's about a sign that a greater power is at work, bringing life to a place that seemed lost forever. For those who take these words to heart, watching the Dead Sea change in ways that match these ancient texts is both awe-inspiring and frightening. An astonishing discovery shook the scientific world and sparked new discussions about ancient prophecy. Researchers diving into the Dead Sea found large craters on the seafloor, filled with fresh water and covered in microbial mats. It was the first sign that this Dead Sea could support life. Shortly after, sinkholes began forming around the Dead Sea as fresh water seeped up from underground sources, lowering salinity levels in parts of the area. These sinkholes, once dangerous voids in the ground, began filling with fresh water, and in the pools created by these sinkholes, fish began appearing and vegetation started to grow. What seemed impossible just a few years ago had now become undeniable, and with each new sighting of life, more and more people began to believe that this might be a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. In the Bible, these types of signs often serve as warnings, signals to prepare for something beyond our control. For believers, these changes at the Dead Sea are not just interesting or unusual, they're terrifying. Some interpret these prophecies as an indication of the end times, a period of challenges and transformations that will change the world. Others see it as a message to look inward, to prepare spiritually for what might lie ahead. Whatever one believes, it's clear that these signs are sparking deep questions and powerful emotions. The Dead Sea is coming alive just as the prophet said it would. For some, it's a symbol of hope, a promise that renewal is possible even in the most desolate places. But for others, it's a fearful reminder that ancient prophecies still hold power and that we might be closer to their fulfillment than anyone imagined. The once lifeless shores of the Dead Sea are now showing signs of transformation that few could have anticipated. For centuries, this body of water 10 times saltier than the ocean was considered one of Earth's most inhospitable places. The salt crust covering its shores, the air heavy with minerals, and the ghostly stillness created an eerie scene of complete desolation. But now, something is shifting in this desolate landscape. A subtle revival that has captivated the world's attention. As the Dead Sea continues to recede, losing around 1 meter in depth every year, the land left behind has become unstable, creating sudden collapses in the ground. These sinkholes, once considered dangerous consequences of environmental stress, have transformed into unexpected havens. Fresh water seeping up from underground aquifers fills these pockets, creating an environment where, surprisingly, life has begun to emerge. Fish swim in these hidden pools, and small plants have taken root along the edges, forming tiny isolated ecosystems, just steps from the salty wasteland. These pockets of life may seem small, but they represent something much larger, the resilience of nature. To see fish thriving beside the shores of the Dead Sea is nothing short of miraculous. For generations, this place has been defined by lifelessness, a symbol of nature's limits. But as these new ecosystems flourish, they reveal nature's uncanny ability to adapt and renew, even in the harshest of environments. The cause of this renewal lies in the complex and fragile balance of the region's natural systems. Freshwater sources like the Jordan River, which the Dead Sea relies on, have seen heavy diversion for agriculture and drinking water over the decades. Without this consistent flow, the Dead Sea has been steadily decreasing in size. The loss of water has exposed the salt deposits beneath the surface, creating a weakened ground structure that's susceptible to collapse. As fresh water seeps into these collapsed areas, it slowly dilutes the salt, creating pockets where the salt concentration is low enough for life to survive. This process, while surprising, is not without risk. The sinkholes destabilize the surrounding terrain, posing threats to nearby roads and communities. In some areas, entire stretches of shoreline have become too dangerous to access, making it clear that while nature is finding ways to adapt, the balance remains delicate. For those living near the Dead Sea, these changes are both a marvel and a reminder of nature's unpredictability. Yet the renewal unfolding here is more than just a geological event. It's a symbol. The Dead Sea, long seen as the very definition of desolation, is showing us that life finds a way even in places where hope seems lost. For many, this transformation aligns with ancient prophecies that speak of life returning to this dead body of water. What once seemed like a distant vision from the pages of Ezekiel now feels as if it's materializing in real time. This unfolding story resonates on a global level too. Around the world, ecosystems are facing intense pressure from human activity, pollution, and climate change. The Dead Sea's revival offers a glimpse of what might be possible if we give nature the space and opportunity to recover. It also shows that nature can adapt beautifully, but not forever. There are limits to resilience, and the Dead Sea is a powerful reminder of those boundaries. For those who view these events through a spiritual lens, this resurgence of life feels like a promise of renewal, a message that even the most barren places can hold the seeds of change. Ancient texts, such as those found in the Bible, frequently depict the return of life to once thought lost lands. This transformation of the Dead Sea isn't just about the revival of fish and plants, it's about hope and the potential for redemption. If life can return to such an inhospitable place, perhaps anything is possible. The changes unfolding at the Dead Sea have become more than an environmental spectacle. They carry a profound spiritual weight for believers who interpret these events as a manifestation of ancient biblical prophecies. For many Christians, the signs of life returning to this famously barren landscape feel like a reminder of divine promises, stirring hope, awe, and even urgency. People view these transformations as symbols of restoration, echoing deeply rooted themes of rebirth and redemption in Scripture, not just as fish in freshwater pools. Ancient prophecies, especially those found in the book of Ezekiel, have long depicted the Dead Sea as a place destined for miraculous change. In Ezekiel 47, the prophet describes a vision where a river flows from the temple in Jerusalem heading east toward the Dead Sea. The vision speaks of salty waters becoming fresh, giving way to a thriving environment where fish and other life forms flourish. Written nearly 600 years ago, this prophecy seemed unattainable for centuries. After all, the Dead Sea was known as a place so salty that no plant or creature could survive within its depths. But now, with new signs of life appearing along its shores, Ezekiel's words feel startlingly close to reality. For believers, this isn't just a fascinating coincidence. Many feel that the return of life to the Dead Sea could signal the beginning of a larger divine plan, a sign that God is actively fulfilling promises made in ancient times. The prophet Zechariah, too, described living waters flowing out from Jerusalem, reaching the Dead Sea, and transforming it. These visions have long symbolized renewal and divine intervention, and for Christians who see these events unfolding today, it feels as if a long foretold message is finally reaching humanity. Supporting this journey of discovery by hitting that super thanks button is helping us keep these stories alive, sharing insights and exploring mysteries that link the past to our present. Your support is inspiring us to dive deeper, bringing powerful stories of faith, science, and nature to light. Together, we're making these revelations accessible to all, spreading messages of hope and resilience to everyone. This symbolic rebirth invites believers to consider their own lives and the ways in which they might seek transformation. The story of the Dead Sea's renewal encourages them to ask reflective questions. Where in my life do I need a revival? How can I open myself to renewal and growth even when hope feels distant? As the Dead Sea, once written off as dead, now springs with life. It serves as a mirror for personal and spiritual journeys. It's a reminder that God's promises aren't just historical, they're alive, reaching into today's world with the same power and possibility for change. With this profound message, however, comes a sense of responsibility. The changes happening at the Dead Sea are a reminder that human actions play a role in shaping the natural world. Overuse of water resources, climate shifts, and human interference have contributed to sea's decline, showing that while divine promises hold power, humans must also be stewards of the earth. Believers see this as a call to care for God's creation, to recognize the sacredness of the world around them, and to respect the delicate balance that sustains life. The Christian faith deeply intertwines this call to stewardship. Genesis speaks of humanity's responsibility to fill the earth and subdue it, implying both dominion and duty. But the revival at the Dead Sea adds a new layer of urgency, suggesting that carelessness with God's creation can disrupt natural and spiritual harmony. The transformation here serves as a wake-up call to not only witness divine works, but also to honor them by protecting the earth's resources and nurturing its ability to renew. In a world marked by uncertainty, the story of the Dead Sea's revival brings a sense of hope. Many Christians interpret these events as proof that God's promises persist and will materialize in His time, even in the face of challenges. This miraculous change offers a reminder that the promises written in Scripture are alive, still relevant, and capable of bringing life from what seemed irreversibly lost. It's a comforting thought in a world that often feels chaotic, as though the natural world itself is providing a glimpse of God's faithfulness. Thanks for watching. Be part of our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.